I'm Dawn Spiegelberg, a heart coherence coach, and this is the Live by Heart Today show. Welcome. This is a show designed to help you navigate change, uncertainty, and the new world we found ourselves in. 2 shows ago, I mentioned that voice that's in our head, and the last show I talked about physical, mental, and spiritual perspectives. I'm sure that's raised the question in your mind, how? How do I change my thinking? How do I change those messages? How do I shift perspectives? Well, the answer is to live by heart. And in order to do that, we've got to change our head, specifically the way we think. Eckhart Tolle says, not to be able to stop thinking is a dreadful affliction, but we don't realize this because almost everyone is suffering from it, so it's considered normal. Doesn't that just open your mind to realizing that thinking is an option, and thinking in the way in which we think is an option? I mentioned in a prior show that thinking can be a real problem for people. Listen, psychologists spend all their time talking to people who are anxious and depressed, amongst other things. And what are they talking about? The very thinking that creates anxiety and creates depression. I recommend stop thinking about it. So in contrast, let's take a minute and talk about what we should think about. And to get a short list of what's beneficial to think about, let's go to the Bible. In Philippians 4, it says, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, whatever is excellent or praiseworthy, think on these things. So let's go back to the top of the list. Whatever is true. You know, this isn't a new concept. There have been people spending time thinking about what's true for a very long time. Think of Aristotle and Socrates, right? The philosophers. What's important to them is what's true. And even a current woman named Byron Katie, some of the questions she asks in, she calls it the method, is what I'm thinking true? Do I know it's true? How do I know it's true? Really important questions. Okay, number 2, whatever is noble. So when we think of the word noble and nobility, we think of knights, we think of kings and queens, the kinds of people who have a broader perspective. So they don't just think about themselves. They're thinking about what's good for all, what's good for the many. And even in other religions, for example, the Buddha talks about what's noble, and they've labeled 4 ideas as the 4 noble truths. So thinking about noble things is really beneficial. The third one, thinking about what is right. And we can go right to education about what is right, because if you don't get the answer that they're looking for on your test, then you don't pass the test. And there wouldn't be any test taking in education if having the right information wasn't so important. Let's look at, what is this? Number 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 4, what is pure? You know, when you think of things being pure, it's not necessarily something that comes to mind readily, except in metallurgy, having purity is essential. You don't want to buy a piece of gold or a gold ring that isn't actually gold, and silver too. So metallurgy is obsessed with things being pure. The next one, whatever is lovely. We have art and artists to thank for that. They capture images and take them from the 3D world and put them on 2D. And it just, loveliness is something that is so beneficial to focus on. Okay, let's take the next one, admirable. You immediately think of the military, right? In order to gain rank, you perform admirable deeds. And lastly, excellent and praiseworthy. You can just go to the concepts of Nobel Prizes. Because when people do things that are excellent, when people do things and we want to praise them for those things, so we recognize them with an important prize like the Nobel Prize. So those are the things we should be thinking about. And it's not just a short list that came from the Bible. It is a list that mankind, humanity supports and is important to all people. So those are the kinds of things to think about. And don't you know, these same very things are also qualities of the heart. When you learn to turn your thoughts to these 7 or 8 things, as a matter of fact, you could choose one and focus on one each day of the week, your thinking will change and you'll shift into a more heart focus. That's it for today. Thank you so much for opening your heart with me. Do me a quick favor and click like on the video. And it would mean a lot to me if you would also share it. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any of the shows that happen now in 5-minute microdoses of heart every Monday through Friday at 4:44 Pacific time. Live in heart qualities when you live by heart today.
And that concludes this portion of Live by Heart Today. And thank you to our sponsors for making the show possible. Hooray! Thank you for joining us. Have a happy always. View more episodes on our website.
We'll talk a little bit about science, a little bit about how our body works, a little bit about intuition, and we'll talk a lot about transformation.